Good afternoon. On behalf of our host for today's ceremony, Brigadier General Gardner, Commander of the United States Army Operational Test Command, welcome to the retirement ceremony in honor of Mr. John Diem. We would also like to welcome family and friends that have joined the Diem family both virtually and in person for this momentous occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the invocation given by Mr. David McClung and remain standing for honors to the host and honors to the nation. Brigadier General Gardner has deferred honors to Mr. Diem on this event.
Let us pray. Our great and mighty Jehovah God, we come into the presence of your magnificent Shekinah glory to thank you for 40 plus years of faithful service of our friend and brother and colleague, John Diem. I pray, Father, that you would watch over John and Julie in the days ahead, that you would bless their endeavors, and that, Father, you would hold them in the palm of your hand. I thank you, Lord, for the chesed friendship that John and I have enjoyed for over 4 decades. Father, for his loyalty and faithfulness and trustworthiness and many other things that I could say. So, Lord, we pray that you would always watch over John and Julie, that you would be with us in this ceremony as we celebrate this occasion is from John's retirement from civil service. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated and welcome Brigadier General Gardner to the podium. As a reminder for those personnel and guests that are joining us virtually, please turn your cameras off. This event will be recorded.
All right, well, welcome everybody this morning. Thank you for joining us. I know we've got a lot of folks here in person. I know we've got Rob Stone out here from Wismer and Brandy Reagan. Ron is traveling right now. A bunch of other folks. We've got 2 Hall of Fame members. We've got Gail Scholl and Mike Knott, so welcome. Thanks for joining us here today. Chris Albus is here, former OTC, although I'm told, JD, he's only here to make sure you cleared your house. So, again, thanks everyone for joining us today to celebrate Mr. John Diem's retirement. Nobody in Operational Test Command wants to see JD go. And I think last week's weather was proof that even God is trying to do everything in his power to prevent this retirement. Although many are joining us virtually today, we have the 2 most important people here with us in person, John and Julie Diem. John and Julie have been blessed with 5 children, Christopher, Carol, Jennifer, Lauren, and Elizabeth, and their sons and daughters in love, Jessica, Danny, Keith, and Dan. They've been blessed with 13 grandchildren. Nate, Drew, Cohen, Haley, or Peanut, I'm told. Cameron and Judah, sitting right there. Ava, Eli, Marshall, Claire, Fisher, Benjamin, and Hayes. Jennifer and Keith with camera Cameron and Judah are en route, we're told. And then here we've got Lauren with Marshall and Claire sitting right there. And the rest are watching virtually, and still others we know are in our hearts, standing with JD and Julie as they celebrate a remarkable career. I'd also like to recognize some other family and friends, either here with us again today in person or watching virtually. We think JD's sister and brother-in-law, John and Candy Sandlin, are out there somewhere. We've got the ATEC command team, I know, Mike and Margaret Helm, Rob and Lori Mealy, Jeff Jennings, Jay Griffith, so many more we know are tuned in, so thank you for participating with us. Everyone knows that JD is young at heart, despite his years on the earth when it comes to technology. So it makes perfect sense that JD and Julie were early pioneers of Match.com. JD deployed for a year to Bliss to support the Future Combat System. Julie was serving away from home in Connecticut to field health management software. They courted for the first month through phone and email, which explains why JD is so comfortable using Microsoft Teams today. Both flying home for Christmas through the Austin airport, Julie got her first eyes on JD as he stood at the foot of her escalator holding a dozen yellow roses. The yellow rose is their flower, and it's apropos given their strong connections to the state of Texas.
We're not going to follow standard script today, so just everybody get used to that.
It's informative. John Diem was raised in Amarillo and San Antonio by his parents, William C. Diem, a 41-year Air Force civil servant, and Kathy Diem, who is here with us today. Please join me in a round of applause for this wonderful lady who raised a wonderful son. In case you're one of the very few people who JD hasn't told, he's a proud Aggie. Having both a bachelor's degree in history and a master's in geography from Texas A&M. Let this sink in. Between just JD and his father, the Deems have given over 80 years to our great nation. Upon graduation from A&M in 1978, JD was commissioned as a military intelligence officer. In 1982, he began his wild ride of 40 years here at Operational Test Command, plus or minus a few breaks peppered in. He served in this command as a military test officer, as a simulation system senior software engineer contractor, that's a mouthful, as a civilian test officer, and as an operations research analyst. From 1997 to 98, he worked for the Electronic Proving Ground at both Fort Lewis and at Fort Hood, before moving in 98 to become the chief of the Digital Integration Office at the National Simulation Center, first at Fort Leavenworth and then here at Fort Hood. JD's firm commitment to Fort Hood and the great state of Texas apparently runs so deep that when he takes a job outside of the state, he immediately starts working clandestinely to bring that organization here to Texas and Fort Hood. In 2001, JD began a 4-year tour with 3 Corps as the G3 Rear Director of Plans, DPTMS, and as the Chief of the Battle Command Training Division at 3 Corps. They gave JD the easy work, dealing with Hurricanes Katrina and Rita emergency efforts, handling the aftermath of helicopter crashes, navigating the complexities of several high-profile deaths involving 3 Corps soldiers, and water and power outages across Fort Hood, including at our post hospital. It's no wonder that JD considers this perhaps his hardest assignment and the one in which it was the greatest honor to serve. Lieutenant General Metz, home from his deployment on mid-tour leave, was reportedly happy to return to the simplicity of the insurgency in Iraq, rather than deal with the complexity faced by Fort Hood, fully confident that JD and his small staff could handle those challenges better than the deployed Corps headquarters. In this assignment, JD also began to demonstrate one of his hallmark traits, spotting talent, as he hired a young man named Bill McKiernan. Where are you at, Bill? Saw you in here. Eventually bringing him to OTC, where Bill is now a deputy director of one of our test directorates. He also began his relationship and mentoring of 2 young officers, a power couple of OTC in their own right, Fred and Jennifer Snyder. In 2005, JD returned to ATEC as our simulations proponent, and then in 2007 became our chief of Simulation and Integration Division. He left ATEC from 2009 to 2011, serving as the Deputy Director of the Modeling and Simulation Coordination Office, another mouthful, in the Office of Secretary of Defense, before returning to OTC as the Deputy Director and then the Director of our Test Technology Directorate. And finally, in November 2017, JD joined the ranks of the Senior Executive Service to become our Executive Director, thankfully serving the Army and many commanding generals in that role ever since. First and foremost, despite his science degrees and accolades, John Diem is a master of language. He's been known to tell my executive officer, Bear, calm down, while a throat punch is a form of communication. It's probably not going to help us build the team into the flexible and enduring team that we need it to be. When John Kimball arrived to be the Deputy Director of our Air and Missile Defense Test Directorate, he says Google was his best friend. It's hard enough learning test and evaluation terms and acronyms, but Mr. Kimball says that even Google sometimes returned no results found when he queried some of the sayings and terms in JD's guidance to him. Our public affairs officer, Mike Novogradac, has countless stories of JD's wise edits to his news articles, which, although always perfect for putting operational tests in perspective, often left Mike perplexed with 3 times the word count suitable for publication. And JD even managed to stump Bonnie McElrath, one of the smartest people I've ever met. Where are you at, Bonnie? She was in here. There you are, hide behind. When he humorously observed, quote, "Well, doesn't that take the rag off the bush?" Like I said, Bonnie's smart, though. She snuck into JD's office one evening and found a hidden compartment in JD's bookshelf, within which he hid a book of phrases, as well as a 1977 novel by Robert Coover containing that phrase. Through her research at the University of Central Florida Library, Bonnie found that particular gem of JD's probably originated with the Diem clan in the 18th century and means to excel, to be the best or most triumphantly successful. JD, as I reflect on your career, well, doesn't it take the rag off the bush? But the saying JD most likes to hear is, "That can't be done," to which he always responds,
Of course you can.
"Hold my beer." That was the right answer. In the 11 years since JD's final return to OTC, the command has continued to conduct independent operational testing of new Army equipment before it's fully fielded, in the hands of representative soldiers and under realistic operating environments. And JD has been at the center of our successful mission, despite what some would characterize as impossible challenges over the past decade. A 15% reduction in our workforce while taking on 2 significant areas of testing: air and missile defense and intelligence and electronic warfare. He has shepherded OTC through a decade of flat budgets, decreased buying power, and multiple continuing resolutions. And let's not forget that he's had to train 10 different commanding generals in the past 10 years. Last week, Julie spoke of the 7 degrees of John Diem, like the 7 degrees of separation, 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, because JD is first and foremost successful not because of how many people know and admire him, but because he's built his success on deep relationships, which in turn have built the stellar reputation he enjoys today.
Amen.
He was at the center of the deep partnership we continue today with the Joint Modernization Command, based on his NIE experience. He's built relationships with the TRADOC Centers of Excellence, CDIDS, and ACMS, most notably his third love behind Julie in Texas, the Intelligence Center of Excellence. He's built relationships with every program executive officer, to include PEO STRI, from which we rely on our most important capabilities to conduct realistic tests. The DA staff, FORCECOM units across the United States, OSD, and of course the Army and joint testing communities as a whole. This has helped not OTC, but the Army build communities of interest to solve our toughest challenges. Just under my watch at OTC, ET3I, IEW-TPT, STAR and 5G initiatives at Fort Hood. And as Jeff Jennings told me candidly a year ago, the rigorous discussion driven by JD of the multi-domain operations testing and training requirements and the MDO POM planning task. His people skills make him a fixture of the Texas community, well known by business leaders, state and federal politicians, and academic powerhouses, not just within his beloved A&M system, but also at the University of Texas, to name just 2, and OTC and the Army benefits. Second, and just as importantly as his people skills, JD's also brilliant, articulate, and grounded in empirical arguments. Madeline Wright recalled an episode in NIE 18.2 where John marshaled the test team built a data-based argument on a series of whiteboards, charts, and info papers, and then proceeded first to convince General Hank Taylor and then DOT&E that it was time to stop the electronic warfare thrashing of the test unit. We had the data we needed, and it was time to remember that we are the soldier's advocate, not the bane of their existence in an operational test. Third, JD thinks outside the box. Both as the TTD director and now as the executive director, he has always pushed the team to not accept the status quo, but to innovate. He's never been shy to draft a team of teams, leverage the latest technology, whether inside or outside of DoD, and if necessary, even hire a 6'10" intern just so he can beat Billy Young's volleyball team in the championship. And finally, JD is able to retire now, not only because he is, only because he's recruited and developed the next generation to carry on his work 100-fold. Our senior civilian at OTC, he's ensured we're developing our acquisition force, giving education opportunities to our hard science and math employees, leveraging other available pots of money to put people first, and seeking interns and new hires in the most diverse pool of talent one could imagine. JD, well done. I know you're going to throw yourself into your new work for the state of Texas, but hopefully you're able to dedicate more of the time I know you cherish, being a great husband, father, and spoiler of each of your wonderful grandkids. You've got a great other half, Julie, and I know you will enjoy having more time together as well. Julie is another Diem that at this point firmly considers Texas her home state. She will love her time in Aggieville, having taken the final step in preparation by burning her University of Texas diploma. Julie, you can finally stop the record-setting commute between here and College Station you've done over the past 6 months. You've been a part of the OTC family for many years now, a driving force behind that family, in fact, and we and the young soldiers here will welcome you back through the gates forever. A round of applause for Julie Diem. JD, I'll end by saying thank you. Thank you for what you've done for OTC. Thank you for what you've done for the Army. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you've done for me personally and for every ATEC and OTC commanding general you've served. And most importantly, what you've done for the American soldier. Truth in testing. Bring you on up. That's all right, you got a few minutes. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, during the awards presentations, please remain seated but give your attention as the citations are read. Mr. Diem is awarded the Distinguished Civilian Service Medal for Distinguished Service as the Executive Director, United States Army Operational Test Command, from August 2014 through December 2021. Mr. Diem led the command and its 8 test directorates at 5 different installations in a campaign of transformation of test capabilities, processes, and partnerships. He increased the focus on the command's workforce development and internship efforts.
I don't know why I'm smiling.
He was instrumental in the establishment of the deployable test range concept. Mr. Diem's accomplishments are in keeping with the highest traditions of government service and are a great credit to him, the United States Army Operational Test Command, the United States Army Test and Evaluation Command, and the United States Army. Mr. Diem is also receiving the Outstanding Service in the Army Senior Executive Services Certificate.
We're innovating.
We've communicated, we're all smiling under the masks, so just in case you can't tell. So.
The Association of Texas A&M Former Students presents Mr. Diem with a certificate honoring his 40 years of service to the United States Army.
Wow. They just want my money.
Cool.
From the state of Texas, to all whom these presents shall come, greetings. Know ye that this certificate recognizes the retirement of Mr. John Diem. It has often been said that the actions of the brave allow us all to live free in this great land that we call home. We salute you for your service to the United States of America. Signed, Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas.
You don't have to hang every single, I know you're probably contemplating your office space right now.
I know what's going on over there already. So.
They'll have a new office, so just tell them to take it there.
From the state of Texas, to all of whom these presents shall come, greetings. Know ye that Mr. John Diem is hereby commissioned an honorary Texan under the laws and emoluments appertaining to said office. Signed, Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas.
I wasn't born here, and that comes up every so often.
Oh.
Now we're going to visit here.
You're naturalized Texan.
Now that he's an honorary Texan, from the state of Texas, to all whom these presents shall come, greetings. Know ye that Mr. John Diem is hereby commissioned an honorary admiral in the Texas Navy with all rights and privileges thereto. Signed, Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas.
I think there's a little card you get to carry in your wallet, too.
Can I get a boat for retirement?
I wonder if they kite John.
At this time, we would also like to call Ms. Julie Diem to join her husband for some presentations. Ms. Julie Diem has presented the Public Service Medal for dedicated and caring service to the soldiers, civilians, and families of the United States Army Operational Test Command and surrounding communities from January 2017 to December 2021. Her genuine selfless service reflects great credit upon her, the United States Army Operational Test Command, and the United States Army Test and Evaluation Command, signed Brigadier General David W. Gardner, United States Army Commanding.
I feel like this is the Olympics.
Your gold medal, baby.
From the state of Texas, Mrs. Julie Diem is hereby commissioned the Yellow Rose of Texas under the laws of the states of Texas with all rights, privileges,
Yes.
emoluments, and emoluments appertaining to the said office. Signed, Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas. At this time, we'd like to call Miss Bonnie McElrath forward to make presentations as well.
Now this worries me.
She already gave it a quote. Well, what version?
I know. Oh, jeez.
So what we have here for Mr. Diem today is a presentation about partnerships. So General Gardner talked about partnerships and your ability to bring people together. And so the modeling and simulation community that you have been a key member of for just a short time, we all work together to produce this for you. And so what you have here is ILTE in the middle is the core capability that brings together PEO, STRI, and OTC. You have coins from each of the representative organizations, OTC, the Army Modeling and Simulation Office that you worked at and has been a great supporter, through PEO, STRI, as well as PMCT2. And in the middle is the patch for ILTE. The red cabling signifies how you've brought us all together to work together to produce ILTE. And then the God gun, of course, I'm sure you've resurrected many players on the battlefield. This is so that we may resurrect you and see you again in your time at IPG. And so just really want to appreciate all your time and dedication to the modeling and simulation community and us in general.
This is going on the wall.
Of course it is. So thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Is it charged?
Make sure it's not somebody's property.
No. I'll be off post pretty soon. They won't find me.
And I'll be followed by Mr. Rob Stone.
Thanks all you simulation partners out there, by the way. Oh, wow.
So I've known John for over a decade, but we've only served as SESs for just a short while together. But when I think about what an SES is, this is the guy I picture in my mind. I've never known anybody that was such a true Southern gentleman who could develop and foster relationships to get things done. So many of you may or may not know that that flag on the end is the SES flag, and in the center of that is a keystone, sometimes called a capstone. And in the days when people first began to create things like arches to support aqueducts and things like that, back before the Romans, that keystone was what held it all together. I can't think of a more appropriate symbol for this man that I've grown to love as a friend than this keystone. Love you, brother. This is from White Sands Missile Range and your family out there. That's your old job. So from Paul Jenkins.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, Paul, I know he's watching. Paul and all the friends at RTC, we wanted to give you a little something there to put on your new desk and wish you the best in your new job.
And you're going to come see me there.
Of course, I'm going to come see you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Diem to the podium for his remarks.
Wow. Hey. Try a little family business. How's it? Okay. So I'm just going to warn you, I did not make it through the multiple versions of reviewing and rehearsing without breaking up. And dadgummit, my eyes are getting wet before I even get started, so just bear with me, please. And I can't tell who's online, and if I omit you, doesn't mean I don't love you. If I owe you money, glad you're out there, not in here. Distinguished guests and family and friends, I am deeply touched by your presence here, live and virtual, but all constructive. That's an insider simulation joke for some of you, if you're not a sim geek. We'll see where this goes. Ed, I have this many pages. I may or may not get to them, just breathe. I remember you lectured me the other day about being brief, be brilliant, be gone. But like most things, I'm probably just going to ignore you and just bear with me. I promise I'll only retire once every 40 or so years. Thanks to senior leaders, both online and in here. Command Group, General Gardner, Ms. Gardner, Command Sergeant Major, Chief, 3, all of you. For the ATEC Command Group that's out there, Tom Jockey, it's good to have you here as ATEC Command Group Forward. Just thanks for being here. It's a special day. I'm going to acknowledge some folks. Brandy, thanks for being here. I know Ron's out running around doing things with soldiers, and Rob's good to have you here, and all of you. I know there's this adage about not supposed to mention folks because you might miss someone, and I'm probably going to just chalk it up to I'm an old guy, and I have a lot more gratitude than I have time to express that gratitude. So just bear with me, please. But some shout outs. I do feel a little bit like a Central American dictator here. First acknowledgement to God. Thank you. This wonderful broken road to here, to paraphrase that song, has been blessed and awesome. I never knew where it was going. I shed a lot of unnecessary tears and hair color in my earlier years. Yeah, I was pretty early, even when I worked with Dale and Mike years ago. But I shouldn't have. Every one of those turns in the road has led to awesome new opportunities and challenges and friendships. To my best friend, Julie. She made it to page 2. It has been a wonderful ride over the past 15 plus years since I met you at the bottom of that escalator. I love you more each day than the day before, and not near as much as tomorrow. Through your patience and love, I've grown and learned so much from you. One of the major lessons that I've learned from Julie, I wanted to share today, and it's a lesson of our blended family. Our great pickup team of 5 kids and 13 awesome grandkids that extends to this family that's here at OTC, across ATEC, and across the Army. And it's this: family is more than DNA. DNA does not define your family. And so I'm going to hit on that theme as we go a little bit. To those not here, the boss mentioned my dad. He was my true north. I've done my best to emulate his love for this country and the selfless service that he rendered over 40 years. In the blue of the Air Force, where occasionally he would say, where did I go wrong? Did I raise this Army son? But it's okay. And as a government civilian, to our daughter Elizabeth and our 4 grandkids, Fisher, Benjamin, Hayes, and Cohen, who've gone on ahead. To my brother by another brother, by another mother, J.C. John Carruthers. Gone too soon, but I suspect is raising some pretty unmitigated Cain somewhere. I love you, J.C. To Mom, thanks for being here today. I know it's not easy, and thank you for your love and exceeding patience, especially during some episodes in my life that shall not be mentioned today. Please. I love you. To the family that's here, Jennifer, Keith, Cameron, and Judah, thanks. Sorry about the confusion on the time. I'm so glad you're here. See, I should have been organized. See, I have something for the grandkids. You're not getting a rose, I'm sorry. This is for you. Don't share that with Mom and Dad. That's for you. You're welcome. And Lauren and Marshall and Claire, thank you for being here. And I guess Eli and Ava aren't going to get one because they're not here. Don't rub that in.
Love it.
That's all yours. You're welcome. And for the kids and grandkids that are not listening, yes, you may get something too. To my family that's online, you know, my sister Candy, also who has lots of compromising stories that she won't share. My brother-in-law, my awesome niece, my best niece, just in case you're listening out there, Paige and Kevin and Scott, and they're much better halves. To Christopher and Jess and Nate and Drew and Danny and Allie and Peanut and our 13th, I think, last grandkid, right?
Yes.
And Dan and Ava and Eli that are out there. In the spirit of families more than DNA, to a group of friends that have been my brothers and sisters by mothers, other mothers over the past 5 decades. Mike Helmer Helm, Mike Baker, David Grumpy McClung. You guys are getting all the inside code names here for people. Bobbert Parker, my 3 little Sim brothers, Fabio Pellegroso Lopez, and Darren Sparky Anderson, and Craig C.U. Unrath, my sister by another mother, Margaret Helmer Edhelm, my class of 05 sisters from our time at ATEC, Sonia Glue Crawley, and Lily La Profesora Segui, and Denise D2 Dela Cruz. Bill, the secret's already out that you were my best hire ever over at DPTS, and so many other unnamed angels and wingmen. You all never gave up on me. You had my back. You always believed in me and encouraged me even in those times when I gave up. To our host, boss, you are the last CG that I got the privilege of welcoming into OTC, and it's been awesome. I've learned from each one of you, and it's been a great experience. You may be the fastest learner about operational testing I've ever seen. You followed a pretty good fast learner. But you're embracing of OT and its mission, test today and train tomorrow. Thank you for continuing that momentum that's built. And Evie, I hope you and Julie continue your exchanges. She's loved those, and I love getting the Cliff Notes version, and she kind of explains the Paul Harvey rest of the story in the evening, so please keep those up. Fred Snyder, Chief of Staff and friend and neighbor. We worked side by side for the last 4 years, pushing to get this command the resources and the support it needs. You've been tireless, but even more important, you've been effective. You're a great neighbor. Thanks for the multiple lessons and how not to burn the house down and incur multiple scars. We've loved living next door to you and Jen and Gracie, and sorry we only got one patio movie night with the Team Snyder, but more to come, and good luck to you and the girls as you go. I see lots of mentors and bosses in here, and not sure who is online. I'll hit a few. But my first comment, as I'm looking across the room to several of you, thanks for not firing me, even when it was probably warranted. Gail and Mike and Tom Christofferson, and I think Mike Sanders and Joe Henry out there, and Ron McNamara, and Jim Amato and Rob Neely, Tom Wallace, others. Again, I know sometimes I was headstrong, and thanks for at least most of the time letting me kind of charge headlong and do the things that I love. Lots of unindicted co-conspirators out there in the training and the intelligence and the communities. Jeff Jennings and Karen Saunders and Brigadier General Chuck Lombardo, Jay Griffith, Kirby Thomas, Randy Nunes, Gary Phillips, and so many others that have worked across organizational lines to do what's right for the soldier, not focused on their stovepipe, but to do what's right for our soldiers. And just would ask that you continue that momentum and partnership. The command group, I love coming in every day. It just won't be the same not seeing BA or now Bear pulling her hair out over another calendar change. Even this morning, but we won't go down there. And Phil, if you're out there, I'm sorry sort of about the lawyer jokes, but I thought some of them were pretty good. To the command, especially the deputy test directors and some of my speed dial teammates in test technology, Bonnie and Jim Miller and team, and the G6 folks, Jeff and Brandon. I'm sorry saying bad things about the G6 and IT folks because it worked most of the time. Our threat team, George, the Iron Majors, the Cyber EW Pixies, and G5 and G3, Bill Adams, Mike James, and others. Man, I know I've pushed you hard over the last year as I realized I made this decision. I realized there was more sand at the bottom of the hourglass than at the top. But I wanted to leave here knowing that this command was postured to have the resources and support that we need to be successful. And so thanks occasionally for my Irish, dealing with my Irish coming up. John Leffers, I know you're going to be much more of a calming influence, but it's a great team. You have a great team around you, and you're going to excel well. Bonnie, just last comment, I know it's terrible that you and Jim have a boss that had your old job and occasionally would offer you guidance on how I would have done it, so you could also tear the rag off the bush. So you did well. To our community, academic, and industry partners, one of the best parts of this job, and John, I'm going to ask you to continue that, is this outreach outside the fence line of West Fort Hood or all of our locations. We have great community partners at all 5 of our locations. As we've worked with our academic partners here, CTC, A&M Central Texas, and Chancellor Yiannopoulos, President Igliazzo, thanks for always asking, what else can we do for OTC as we develop the workforce and look for new technologies? I'm going to follow on something the boss said. I've got several teammates, I understand, from the University of Texas out here. So, and I know this is being recorded, right? Can you go back and delete this later? I'm going to say something. I want to fully acknowledge it in public and for the record that you all have done great work for this command. It hurts me a little bit to say that, but you have. And even though I'm headed to Aggie Land, I hope our paths continue to cross as we support Army modernization. And to our industry partners, our contractor workforce brings amazing skills and talent to keep us relevant and credible. We can't do this job without you as that third element of our military, civilian, and contractor workforce. So I want to acknowledge 3 special ladies in the front house or in the front office, but only one of them's here. So, Grits, come on up. Nicole, I think you're out here, and Rachel, and I hope you're listening as well. Every day was kind of like having your own entertainment channel upstairs as you walk into the command room, and made each day an adventure. Sometimes it was comedy, sometimes it was drama. To Rachel, to the Tatum Tater, amazing, awesome, or average Rachel Luna, depending on what came after her famous so. Those of you that work upstairs know Rachel so means that it translates to, I'm about ready to ruin your day and you didn't even see it coming. To Nicole Griffin, Soapy. And I'll be glad to explain these nicknames at the reception this afternoon if you'd like. Thanks for the many, many, many TDY adjustments and getting me back, usually, most of the time in one piece. Grizz, Sonia. Anyone who is retired or been promoted at OTC, and I've seen many of you that have been blessed by this woman. You know that there are ceremonies and there's Grizz caliber ceremonies, and that make each honoree and their family and friends feel truly special. And today is no exception. Over the past 5 years, those 3 have been consistent about 2 things. One, either calling or sending Julie stuff I was supposed to have sent her, and usually, and that's usually like in big bold print underline, usually defending me with, he's been really busy. could have done that a few more times. And for frequently coming in and saying, Mr. Diem, we need to use your credit card for, and sometimes they mumble and whatever. It's kind of like the grandkids, but that's okay. Here, I've got them for you in grits. Oh, and that other flower, where is it?
Oh, she wondered what that was for. It was for you, dear.
So that's your own credit card, so you can stop coming to me.
Is it as much?
No. I wish it were. Should I trust you to give these to Tater and Soapy, or, I mean, you can delete the part where they're getting it if she doesn't get it to them. So looking back, wow, some of you were here when I did this. I reported into the granddaddy of this command 40 years and 22 days ago. I didn't think I wanted to be here. I really wanted to be in S2 over in the 2nd Armored Division. I guess it hadn't turned out so badly. It's been a great reminder that, as you reminded me a few weeks ago, man plans and God laughs. And I'm retiring a few days short of 5 years of holding this job as both the interim and then the permanent executive director. I never imagined these final 2 years would be in this isolation and separation that we've dealt with, and I missed all of those 5-minute meetings between meetings of exchanges and fist bumps and hey, what's going on, but we got pretty good at working around that. Teams chat and texts and emails, and oftentimes like really early or long at night, as the chief would remind us, could you guys like stop sending me, text messages at 5 o'clock in the morning? We listen sometimes. What was cool was, especially with the Teams chat, it was kind of like passing notes in class, and I'm afraid I may get caught, but we made that work to our advantage. And sometimes, and boss, I'm not going to tell you I was thinking about when I wrote this next statement, but you can fill in the blanks. Somebody that's not here today. Wow, I guess another village is missing their idiot.
There's a lot of villages.
You all persevered. You found ways to keep the pace of Army modernization. You kept your teams, your soldiers, the units that we test with safe. Every test, those units left that event better trained and ready to take on the mission that they would go into the day after. It wasn't easy, but you succeeded. You did it with courage. You embraced change and transformation, and you put skin in the game. You worked across lines. You got people out of their stovepipes, and you succeeded. In this command, we don't always stop and look back, but I think we are a lot closer to being relevant and credible now than we were years ago because of the investments that every one of you in this room have made to get us there. So keep doing that. I've had many people, General Gallivan and I talked a couple weeks ago about how close the 4 tribes of ATEC, the staff, our developmental testers, our evaluators, and our operational testers are, that we were 4 people separated by a common language once upon a time, but we are all part of one team now and working together. And so Rob and Chris Barrett, Ron Reagan really started a lot of this notion of a triad and shifting left, and we've continued that. Jim Amato, Rob Mealy, Deirdre Sumter, my sister by another mother, John Wallace, all these teams coming together and said, we've got to work for the good of this whole team and not be separated in our little bins. And so please keep doing that. This notion of a triad working together to succeed. We've proven it's more than a hypothesis. Finally, I had a lot of quotes I wanted to share, but I'm just going to share one of my favorites that I think most aptly captures where we are right now. They were spoken by President Abraham Lincoln at the closing of his second State of the Union address in December of 1862. For you any other history geeks in here. Those are some of the worst days of the Civil War, and really the state of our Union was in doubt. And those words still resonate loudly today. For some additional context, but another JD-ism that I stole, context is an extra 80 IQ points. These remarks were made about 10 weeks after preliminary version of the Emancipation Proclamation was issued, and it was proving to be a political liability in the elections of 1862. Many people were suggesting that maybe the president needed to take a step back. And President Lincoln's response: "We can succeed only by concert. It is not, can any of us imagine better, but can we all do better? The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. As our case is new, so we must think anew and act anew." Those words are pretty old, almost 160 years old in another few months, but I don't know that any truer words have been written about where we are in this command and the brave and courageous acts that we've got to do to ensure that we continue to put systems that are effective and suitable and survivable in the hands of our soldiers. I've loved each and every second of my time with you all. I couldn't have made it today without all of you in this room and online. Thank you. God bless you. God bless this great command. God bless our country. God bless the soldiers and civilians of our Army. Truth and testimony. Boss, JD out.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the playing of the Army song. On this special occasion, in honor of Mr. Diem, we've added one additional piece of music to the agenda. For those that don't know, that was the Aggie War Hymn, I believe is what it's called.
My University of Texas friends.
And the Army song. Ladies and gentlemen, this this concludes today's retirement ceremony. Mr. Diem will move to the front of the room for those that wish to bid him final farewell. The Diems additionally are hosting a reception at Texas A&M Central Texas today at 1300 for those invited guests. Thank you for attending today's ceremony.